This video is brought to you by Mums Gather. If you missed out last year, don't make the same mistake again. We hope to see you on 11th May. We're going to have amazing speakers, great food, a lot of fun, and so much learning and knowing how to do this mom journey with other people, walking in purpose as a mom, being a mom and more than a mom. We can't wait to see you on 11th May at the Kampala Serena Hotel. Save the date, make payment. All the details are in the caption. See you there. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about autism. What is autism? What does it mean to raise a child who is autistic? Motherhood is difficult, but what happens when it throws you another blow? How do you make lemonade out of the lemons that life has thrown at you? I'm hosting one of my friends. She's called Brenda. She is the proprietor of Nail Pro. If you follow me on Instagram, you've been seeing my nails. She's such a beautiful person with a beautiful heart, and she's just going to share her journey raising a child with autism. What does it mean? How does it affect the family? Let us learn so that we know how we can even support families that have autistic babies. Brenda, you are welcome to the channel.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you for having me. Thank you for your invitation. I'm very honored to be here.
Yeah. You can see how beautiful she looks. You should see her nails. They are so cute.
Thank you.
So you tell us, how many babies do you have? How has motherhood been?
So I'm a mom of two beautiful girls, aged 12 and 5. Motherhood has overall been a blessing. Motherhood has been lovely. It's been a joy. It's been so much fun. I really feel like I'm in my best element when I'm a mom. I really feel like, that's one of the things I really love
that God
created. To do. It's been fun nurturing my babies. Yeah.
Wow. For me, I feel like I'm knee deep in toddlering tantrums.
It will pass. It will pass, the toddlering.
So beautiful. So you tell us about your pregnancy with the first one.
With the first one, we're here to talk about the first one. So the first one, her name is Zion. Very fondly known as, thank you, very fondly known as Zizi, Sunshine, Beautiful. She has so many nicknames. We've just showered her with so many endearments, so much love, and that's, again, as I'll speak later, what has made this journey easy, just to do this from a place of love.
Yeah.
So Zion, Zizi, Sunshine, I don't know a child with so many nicknames. I can't even, all kinds of names. I had her in 2011. She was a full-term baby. She came at 40 weeks.
Wow.
I know.
Right on the dot.
Right on the dot. 40 weeks. In November 2011, and it was a beautiful day, the most beautiful day for me. And after that, we went home and the mothering began. The journey of motherhood began. It was lovely. I enjoyed every single day. She was a peaceful baby, very peaceful. She didn't keep me up at night crying. And even if she did stay up in the night, she was just cooing and looking at me and smiling. No, she was just always smiling. She was happy. She was a healthy child, a very big baby, very big appetite. She fed really well, and I was blessed that, even feeding came easily for me, very, very easily. I didn't have any trouble in that area. It was just a lovely, lovely first 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
So in that first 1 year, you didn't notice anything? She was just like your everyday baby?
there was nothing that was alarming, let me say. When it came to sitting, she sat at the right time. When it came to teething, the right time. When it came to recognizing people around her, all that came at the right time. I did notice a few things, but again, they were not things that were alarming. They're things that happen to any other baby. She had a crossed eye.
Okay.
Like
so when the
squinting.
eyes, okay.
And doctors were like, this is normal.
It's clear.
It will clear on its own. She probably has an eye defect, but let's see with time. It's not anything to worry about. It's not anything that can affect her development. And truthfully, the squints that actually it wasn't squints. It was a lazy eye. It was a lazy eye, and it cleared on its own. There wasn't anything else that alarmed me apart from the fact that she delayed to crawl. She wasn't crawling by her first birthday. But again, it's not something to worry about because some babies crawl,
don't crawl.
Some don't crawl at all, some crawl much later. So she didn't crawl by her first birthday. She couldn't stand by her first birthday. She was just a teddy bear. She's sweet bear. She's cute and nice to look at and just so lovely and just a baby taking her sweet time. So I wasn't worried by the first year. But also, I didn't have so many other friends who were having children at that time. I didn't have other children to compare. Yeah, because most of them had children after me, like maybe 2 years after me or a year after me. So I didn't have so many other people to compare with or to compare to, but it was mostly a hassle-free 1 year. Nothing to worry about in the first 1 year.
So when did you start getting some red flags? How did you discover?
I started to get red flags when she was like 1 year and 3 months. That's when she started crawling. And even her style of crawling wasn't the usual. No, she was dragging herself on her belly. That was how she crawled. So at 1 year and 3 months, I remember going to a doctor's appointment. It must have been one of those vaccinations. And before we went in at that time, we used to first go to the doctor before you go for vaccination. And he did, a review and he examined her and everything was okay. And he just made a comment. He said, she's not crawling yet. Told him she was crawling.
On her belly.
He's like, okay, that's a bit strange. But it's okay. Maybe let's give it time. And she's not walking. Told him she wasn't walking. But he did notice she didn't have eye contact. That's the first thing he said to me. She wasn't giving eye contact. He tried a number of,
following an object.
Yes. And because of her lazy eye, again, he said, maybe she's just, she has an eye defect. So maybe you should see an ophthalmologist and have her eyes checked out. But yeah, let's go ahead with vaccination. And we went ahead with vaccination. Then I noticed, again, it was a few, people would always say things like, why is she not walking yet? Why are you still carrying her? Why, So eventually at 1 year and 10 months, I go back to the doctor and I tell him she still wasn't walking. He did more exams on her and he said, let's wait until maybe 2 years. If for sure by 2 years she's not walking, we'll need to take some steps. Yes. So it's okay. Just go home, observe. I really think she has global delayed development, which happens. She's just slow at meeting her milestones, but nothing to worry about. Again, she did have eye contact. It hadn't improved from the last time we had been there. So at 2 years, I go back to the same doctor and there was still no change. And he said, okay, I think this is mild autism. That's the first time. Just like that. He said, I think this is mild autism. And he just left it at that. He didn't tell me what it was. I didn't know what autism was. And he just said, I was a young mom, and he said, here is an address. They have, it's a center for children with special needs. You can go and start on physiotherapy. I think it will be a good place to start. Of course, before all that, we had done other tests, MRIs, to make sure that everything was okay with her brain. And everything was perfectly fine with her brain. So that's the other thing about autism. If a brain scan is done on a child with autism, it
looks
fine.
like every other child.
It's perfectly fine. The MRI is normal. It's maybe when you do like a PET scan that focuses on different functions of the brain that you'll start to see that maybe the area responsible for speech is not fully developed, the area for cognitive functions, the area for, different parts. That's when you will start to notice. But when you do a brain scan on a child with autism, they're perfectly normal.
Wow.
So everything was okay with the scan. He sent me off to this center. And we started our journey there. We went for physiotherapy because she still wasn't walking, and now she's 2 years old. So we had a number of sessions, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and some speech therapy because she still wasn't saying anything. She did have a few things she had started to mumble, like she could say mama ma.
Oh.
Yeah, she could say mama, not mama,
not mama, but
mama. She would say that. We had a nanny at the time was called Edith, and she used to call her Didi.
Oh.
She would say no. She would say things like no, no, no. She didn't have more than 5 words, but they were slowly coming. So we started physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, as we waited for all the other milestones to come. Yes.
Okay, so how did you feel when you got that diagnosis and hearing that my child has mild autism? You are, I think we didn't mention that you were just 25 when you had Zizi.
Yes.
So how did you feel as a young mom?
I can almost still remember that drive home. I still, I know which car I was driving. I know where I was when I felt what on the road. I remember crying all the way from Bugolobi to Chiwatole, just crying. I was a mess. First of all, I am crying because I don't know what autism is. But then it sounded like a death sentence. It sounded like I had been told that my child has a terminal illness. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
I didn't know who to call. I remember calling someone though on that drive. And when I spoke to them about what the doctor said, they were in a meeting and they said, "Let me call you back." Like, I remember everything about that drive home, who I called first and what they said, because they were busy at work. They said, "Let me call you back." And I felt like my world had crumbled.
Crushed.
So I drove all the way home, completely crushed. I remember, picking her out of her car seat and going into the house, into her room, and just looking at her like, what do we do? What do we do? And from then on, I cried. I cried many nights. I cried many days. So many people around me didn't know because I took a while to
let people
know, and not because I didn't want to talk about it. I just didn't know what to say. I also didn't know. So I didn't tell people immediately because, for starters, I didn't know what to say. I didn't have the answers to their questions because I had many questions myself. I just remember days of crying and crying and crying, like a dark world, a dark cloud had descended upon my world. And I keep telling new moms that these eye bags, these permanent eye bags I have, are from crying, years of crying and years of not sleeping at all, Sometimes I'll get people saying, do you wear makeup?
Eyeshadow.
Eyeshadow. I'm like,
these are just my eyes.
It's my friend. is autism tears and sleepless nights.
So you were not sleeping because she was keeping you awake, but you were just worried.
I was not sleeping because I was scared. I was worried. I was confused. Even when they told me that she has autism, remember the doctor said it was mild autism. I thought it would kill her in the night. So I was constantly checking if she's breathing, if she cried, my heart skipped a certain way. I was on my toes because of that diagnosis. And remember, he had said it was mild autism. So I started to read because there was no one else to tell me about autism. Like I said, most of my friends hadn't had children or were just starting to have children after me. So there was no one else to compare with. The only other person I knew, or the only other family that I knew, were relatives of mine, but what their son had was not autism. Plus, he had grown, he was now the same age as me. I grew up, with him. So he was the same age as me, although his isn't autism. It's a different neurological condition. But yeah, I just didn't know what to do. I turned to the internet. I started reading. I stayed up all night just worrying. Sometimes I stayed up all night with my mind was blank.
Yeah.
So sometimes I was overthinking, but sometimes my mind was just blank. Thinking. I was just floating around. Yeah.
So, when we have children, we have this like you see their future.
Oh,
like
yeah.
My baby girl. Okay. So how was that like reconciling the reality and getting to learn autism? How did people receive that?
Yeah.
Because eventually you'd have to tell people because you have your 2-year-old, you're carrying her around. You are definitely sad, and I think people can see that, but you're not able to tell them. How were you able to, first of all, to pull yourself out of that, but also how did people react? And
so at that age of, in the early years, let's say even up to 4 years, maybe even up to 5 years, honestly, I still had hopes. I still thought this thing would go away because now the few people I was interacting with me were telling me, oh yeah, no, someone's child was like this, but then it went away, they outgrew it. So I also thought it was something we would outgrow. So I still had hope. I had hope that, okay, she's 2, maybe by the time she's 4, she'll be ready for school and we'll go to, a kindergarten. So I still had a lot of hope. My family, in the beginning, again, like I said, there wasn't a lot to talk about because I also didn't know. I could not.
They ask you, how family can
now,
be so nosy.
So you see me now. Why
are you carrying the child?
No. So you see me now, I can confidently speak about autism. You can ask me anything about autism and I will answer. But back then, I didn't know. I was just going by what the internet is telling me. And let me tell you, when the internet is your source,
you will see everything.
You will see everything.
The worst and the best.
You will see things. Like there is a time I thought my daughter had a syndrome where one person in I don't know how many million, those rare conditions, I thought that's what she had, So when the internet is your source, you'll go down a certain hole of right answers and wrong answers and wrong sources and wrong information. So for a few years, I was just there. Plus, I couldn't find a doctor to tell me for certain
what it is,
what it is. But also in the first 4 years, you're more focused on not even what do I do, but what caused it. I feel like for the first 3 years, maybe, or 4, even up to 4, I was just trying to figure out what caused it. What did I do? What didn't I do? Did I miss something? I read something one time on the internet that said heavy mercury, heavy deposits of mercury in the mother's body. And then they were saying fish is one of those things that have mercury.
I think it's usually fish from oceans and
But then I was craving fish when I was pregnant. So for a
So you started
moment,
to
I was
blame
like,
yourself.
is it that fish I was craving? Is it the salmon I wanted to eat, you know, the smoked salmon? It's things like vaccination. So for the first 4 years, by the way, you're just blaming yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, you're getting the intervention you need, but you're mostly blaming yourself. Did I take my folic acid?
Yeah.
Because there are stories of you didn't take your folic acid. There are stories of that vaccine, you know, that you, the MMR vaccine.
Yeah.
There are stories like, what else? Oh my God, there's so many. There's so many. So I was in a place of just blaming myself, blaming the hospital, maybe, because there are places they would say for children who have neurological conditions, maybe it was a few seconds at birth of shortage of oxygen. So I was like, this hospital, what did they do to my baby that I don't know, you know? Should I have had more people in the delivery room? Because there was only one person. But I was just blaming myself. So I didn't even have time to think about what everyone else was thinking in the beginning. My family was just lost like me, honestly. Of course, there'll be people who are saying things like, "Hey, it's because you're always carrying the baby. That's why she can't walk. Put her down.
Let her walk.
You let her walk." You're like, walk how? She can't walk. She can't even stand. So of course there'll be things like comments from friends and family, you know. People saying you carry the baby a lot, you treat the baby like a baby. I think they're a baby. I'm supposed to treat them like a baby. How? It was so many things. But my family was with me. My family was my they let me figure it out. They let me figure it out. They let me learn so I could also teach them, you know. They didn't put me under any pressure. They didn't, and I always say this, I'm so lucky that I have that family, and God chose that family for me because they just let me learn. They let me figure it out. I didn't have the answers, so they didn't ask me many questions actually.
To overwhelm you.
Yes, because they could see that I don't have the answers also. So, and that was it. Friends, you know, at that time I was still young. I had an active social life. So you have friends who don't understand why you're not spending out, why you're not spending time with them. They can't understand why your child is crying at every party. They can't understand why you're so stressed out, what's bothering you. And some insensitive things were said. But I know it's because we were all
just from a place of not knowing.
Just not knowing.
Yeah.
It was a difficult time. The first 5 years, I must say, were difficult because I was hoping against hope
that it would go
away. That it was just a phase, we would outgrow it, and it never did. Yeah.
Wow. I think every time I heard about autism, I didn't think it was here. Because I'd always see it in the movies with Bazungu. And I think I had my first interaction of it, I think in 2022, when someone close to me had a child with it. So what has been your hardest day? Like the hardest experience with autism?
So I have had so many hard days. It's, you know, when you ask that question, I try to go through my mind, like, what's been my hardest day? I'll just bundle them up. Maybe I think the days that have been hardest for me have been the days of rejection. Those are the days that I went home and cried. The days when you put your baby next to another child and the other mom comes and picks up their child. The days, in case it's contagious. The days some families tell their children used to tell their children not to play with mine. Those were the days that were hard. The days, I remember having a guest one time at home who had a baby, and not a baby, but like toddler. And for some reason, toddlers are usually drawn to Zizi. I don't know why.
They're so curious.
They're so curious. Like,
Innocent.
yeah, they want to bring her toys. They're just like, I don't know what they're thinking.
Can I help?
What, I don't know if it's how can I help, but get up, let's play, maybe.
Yeah.
And she kept telling her child to move away, not to come close, So for me, it's been the days of rejection. Most recently, being asked to leave a children's water park. I think that one, let me tell you, when I even speak about it, my heart beats. Like I kind of panic, because I think it was the most painful one, because it was a public place. We had done nothing wrong. She was having a good time. She wasn't disturbing anybody. She was just having a good time. We drove all the way from our home to go to this place, only to, settle in 2 hours later, and someone asks us to leave. Like, you need to leave now for reasons like your child is not normal, your child doesn't look like the others, or they shouldn't be, in this place. We're going to lose business because of the way your child looks. Yes, my daughter is clearly, visibly autistic. Most of you know the autism in the movies.
Yeah.
The ones where they are presented as really, really smart, or super creative, or they are scientists. My daughter is none of those. She's not a scientist. She's smart, for sure she is.
And so beautiful.
Yes, very. But she's not that autism that many people see in the movies.
Like she's there on computers, obsessed with something.
Software. And no, she's not Sheldon Cooper. She's not the guy in The Good Doctor. She's not the guy in The Accountant. No, she's visibly autistic, because of the way, even when she's walking, you can tell she's not walking like the other children. Her, the way her eyes, the way she, how do I even put it? You can just tell when you see her. She drools a bit. So you can tell that this is a child with a disability. You might not know what disability it's called, but you will know that this is a child with a disability. So I've had so many days, so many hard days, but the ones with rejection have been the hardest for me. Being denied a parking spot. And not so long ago, just last year, we were, she wasn't able to walk from the parking to the restaurant we were going to, because she was not feeling well. So we decided to park close to the entrance of the mall. And everyone came at me, and their scaries were bouncing us. And I was trying to explain that I'm not parking. I want her to get out, and then somebody else can take the car back. Because there was someone else in the car who would take the car back. And everyone came at me, their scaries, saying I'm, breaking parking regulations. And I remember when finally I got her out, the lady Ascari said, "What kind of child is this who can't even walk? And you say she can't walk?" But she wasn't feeling well that day. She was actually sick. It's not that autism was not letting her walk. No,
she was sick. Like any,
She had a bacterial infection we had been treating, and we'd gone somewhere on our way. We decided to stop at a restaurant to get her something to eat, because she hadn't eaten for days. So on our journey, at least she started to show signs of hunger. We're like, oh, this is the moment. Let's stop and get something to eat, because she hadn't eaten for days. And, again, small things that any one of us should be able to access. I mean, it doesn't have to be a child with a disability. It could be a heavily pregnant mother who cannot walk from the parking to the place they are going to. Anyone should be able to access these services. So it's been mostly rejection And it's not even the first play area that we've been
Rejected.
No. There have been so many days. There have been, oh my God. The rejection is the only thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
The insensitive comments, the that advice that comes off. You hear people telling you, singa omwana ono wali omusabira singa yawona dda. And you're like, do you know how I've been praying? Do you know when you come at me with singa omwana ono omutwale wa pastor this and this, you know, so and so, I don't think they would be like this. Lwakuba tosiiba, you know, lwakuba tosaba. Or random strangers who think that people have sacrificed their children for money.
Yeah.
Like, which money even? You know? So
who would, anyway, there are people
there are people who say the most insensitive things that will keep you awake for months. And you want to go back and look for this person and have a conversation with them. Like, what did you mean? Why would you say that? You know? So it's mean conversations, unsolicited advice that comes off really insensitive, rejection, and also just people airing out their ignorance.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to just keep quiet. We don't mind if you just keep quiet. You don't have to say something.
Even if you want to ask, like, ask from a place of wanting to know, but not to condemn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or you didn't do this. You know, for me, I know someone who did this. Autism is a spectrum, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not that the one child is the same as the other and the other. No, they are different. They are very different. It's on a,
like you're on a line.
Yes, it's a range.
Just somewhere in the middle.
There's some children who are autistic and verbal, and by the way, it's easy to miss the signs. But autism is a spectrum, and not all the children on the spectrum are the same. There's some children who are autistic and verbal. There are some children who are autistic and non-verbal. There's some children who are autistic and verbal, and you will not even notice the other symptoms of autism. So they can go years even undiagnosed. Yeah, there are people who, if you look back, so if you look back into your childhood, there's a child who behaved a certain way. And now that I know what I know, I am certain that that child was autistic, or that child had, this condition or that condition. So it's because I know what I know now. Yeah. You know, so there are some children who go years. I don't know if you've heard stories of people being diagnosed when they're adults.
I haven't.
Yeah. There are people who have been diagnosed, even here in Uganda, as adults. They didn't know why they were hyper when they were kids. They didn't know why they struggled to learn.
Like that child just doesn't sit.
Hey, that child is,
Tatula one. See, he's always jumping.
I once had a story here in Uganda of a lady who had been diagnosed, I think when she was at the university. And she said she is that child who had been expelled from every school. Like almost every school, every home she went to, relatives didn't want to live with her because she was just too much. She was, and everyone said she was just stubborn. But yeah, so we do have cases of people who are being diagnosed into their adult years, but that's because the symptoms were not very visible, like they are with my daughter. So, yeah.
So we know that Zizi is the first.
Yes.
And then we have the second baby. Were you scared that pregnancy?
Oh, I was scared. I think I was scared when Zizi was about 4. I started to think of having another child, but I was scared. I quickly put that idea.
You're like, no.
Yes. I gave every reason. I said so many things to people when they asked me, but the real reason was that I was scared. That was the real reason. I gave so many reasons, from busy, from so many, but the real reason was that I was scared. I was scared to death.
Yeah.
Like what? Because again, at that time, I thought it is something wrong with my body, and that's why I had a child with autism. So I was sure that the next child
would also have
would also have autism. No one had told me that that it's not hereditary, because I didn't have information. I didn't have a lot of information by then, so I was very scared.
Yeah.
Very.
So research hasn't been able
I did
to
have another one 7 years later.
and she's a very active little girl.
Oh my God, she's different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Now, knowing what you know now, and research already doesn't show what causes autism. 13 years later, because Zizi turns 13 this year.
Yeah.
What do you know now that would have helped you in 2011, in 2012? What do you know now for sure? And what would you do differently?
Yeah. I now know that we're not going to die. I used to think we're going to die. She's going to die, and I'm going to die from just not sleeping and being stressed and staying up awake. I must say that later, when autism starts to now show, by the from the time the baby is born and 2 years, it's easy to not notice
To live with
autism.
it.
Not even that, you may not notice, but there is a way in which all the autismness of autism comes out at the age of 2.5.
Toddler, right?
You start to experience meltdowns like never before. The child is well fed, the child is happy, but they are crying non-stop. You start to experience hyperactivity, which means the child is awake playing all day, all night.
They're not able to shut off.
They are playing. They are screaming. For kids who are already walking, they are jumping. They are running around the house all night for days on. So I used to think that one day we'll drop dead. Like one day she'll stop breathing because of autism. And that one day I would just take a nap and never wake up from being so exhausted. That fear to even take a nap of I might sleep and actually die or slip into a coma because of how exhausted I am. That fatigue that comes from deep within your soul, that you're so scared to even sleep when you have a moment to sleep. So I was scared. I know for sure that we're okay. I know for sure that she is perfect. Again, in the first 4 years, I focused on what she couldn't do rather than what she could do. I focused on
her
autism.
inabilities. I
focused on everything that she wasn't able to do. I focused on her autism because I was still in that place of
trying to accept.
I was grieving at the same time, trying to accept that mix.
Yeah.
So now I know that she is a perfectly healthy child. I know for a fact. Let me tell you, if there's one thing I know, Daisy, I have told this to you, is that she's perfect.
Yeah.
She's perfect. There's nothing wrong with her. There's nothing broken. It's just that her normal is different from mine or yours.
Yes.
So now I know, and I wish I had learned that earlier. Maybe I would have slept better.
You'd have slept.
Maybe I would have enjoyed life, Maybe I would have, I wouldn't have spent all those nights crying. But now I know that she's perfect. She's perfect, and you can't tell me nothing, by the way. Let me tell you, I don't care whether you are the manager or the president of the world. You cannot tell me that my daughter is not perfect. She is perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I know that now. I wish I'd known it sooner, but it was all part of the journey. Yeah.
I think you tell people even some of the things she's able to do.
Yes. My shifting my mindset to see her for who she really is made me realize that autism is just another.
It's like having a mole, and now you learn to live with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like just another thing that another small obstacle,
Yeah.
let me say. It's just another small, and for sure the challenges are huge. The challenges of raising a child with a disability are huge, but my God is greater, for starters. So autism is just another tiny obstacle along the way. We've learned to live with it. We've learned to accept. We've learned to.
You're thriving.
Yes, and when you start to focus on the child themselves rather than autism, what it really means, you start to see progress.
Yeah.
You start to see things differently.
Yeah.
But if you focus on autism alone, what she can't do, you will miss a beautiful child. You will miss a happy child. You'll miss a healthy child. You'll miss all that goodness, everything that you'll miss so many things. But I do understand that it's part of the journey. It's part of the journey.
The grieving
process. That, that time you're just thinking of how much you've lost in this child. It's part of the process. Yeah.
Wow. And I think you can also mention she can swim. She can communicate. Like, she's just a
she gives the nicest, warmest hugs and kisses and cuddles. She's beautiful. I don't want to over talk about her because when I start, I start to wail and we don't have tissue here. So I told you the other day that when I talk about her, she just fills my heart with joy. With my heart swells when I talk about her because of everything she's been able to achieve, because of how far we've come, how she's not limited by anything. Nothing can stop her. Even if she can't do it, nothing can stop her. So when I talk about her, my heart really, really swells with so much joy and pride. And when you see me cry when I talk about her, I'm not crying from a place of no. It's not sadness. It's not pain. It's not that I haven't healed. No, it's none of that. I'm just happy. I'm happy that I'm able to see her beyond autism or beyond any disability or beyond what people around us say or think. I'm just happy about that.
And I love that you have raised your second baby, Ruby, to be there for her sister, and even when she sees other autistic children, she knows how to be kind to them.
Yeah.
And I think that as parents, that's something we need to empower our children with, because they're going to live in a world where they see children who came out in different shapes and forms and abilities.
Yes.
So for us to be inclusive and accepting of children, no matter how they are. And I love how Ruby will stand up for her sister. She'll go to a place, see other autistic children and want to play with them.
Yeah.
And that's really beautiful.
It's been a journey because, again, she's only 5 years old and some days she's just...
She doesn't want to know.
Some days she's like, why is she slow? Some days she'll tell me, Mommy, I'm so bored. And I'm like, but you have a sister. So, but she's not talking to me. What do you want me to do? So you have to understand that she's 5, but we can still teach kindness.
Age appropriate.
There are times children have been mean to Zizi and their parents have been around and they've not said anything about it. And let me tell you, I don't blame the child. Because they are a child. They don't know. But what's your excuse as an adult? Why don't you know? Why are you letting your child treat another be unkind,
Yeah.
So I don't want my daughter to be that child. I am intentionally teaching her that there are children who have learning challenges. There are children who do things different from what other children, from from what you do. There are children with autism. I may not be able to teach her about all the disabilities, but she can now recognize that these children are different. And it warmed my heart recently when she told me that their school went swimming and there is a school that comes to the same pool and they're boys only. But she came and told me, Mommy, I think I saw other children today who came to there are other children who came to the pool today, but I think they have autism. I said, why? Why do you think they have autism. She said they were different because I saw that their teachers were supporting them in the pool. They couldn't talk. Some of them were drooling. So I think they have autism. And I asked her, what did you do when you noticed? She said, all my friends were scared to swim in the same pool with them, but I wasn't. I said hi to them. I tried to talk to them, but they weren't talking to me. But I told their teacher that I have a sister with autism, and I felt like, Lord, take me now. My work is done. I have changed the world, So it really warmed my heart when she went up to their teacher. And I confirmed the next day. I asked at her school, and they told me that there is actually a special needs school that comes with some boys. And I was so happy. I was so happy that on her own, she could tell that these children are different. And while everyone else was running away, because again, they are kids, they don't know. She swam up to them and tried to talk to them even though they couldn't answer, and told the teachers that she has a sister with autism.
Yeah.
So let's be intentional.
Yeah, and I think also let's just highlight that just because some of the kids are nonverbal, that I mean that they won't feel
that they don't understand.
Yeah, that they don't see that you don't want them in a place.
Yes.
They're actual human beings.
Yes.
Yeah.
They do comprehend everything around them.
Yeah.
There are times I will speak even another language and my daughter will
look at you like you're hungry today.
One of the things she doesn't like to do is take medicine. So every time you're in the kitchen and you say, where's the medicine? Then she knows medicine is coming, so she'll refuse to open her mouth. I started to say it even in Luganda, so that... And, she shocked me that
she understood.
She understood, and she still refused to open her mouth, even though we were hiding the medicine, she could never tell. So they do understand. They read the people around them. They read the room. It's true, they're highly intelligent. Not all of them, maybe not academically, I think many of us have made the measure of intelligence to be academic. No, she's very intelligent. She comprehends everything around her. She might not know 1 + 1, or she might not tell you what color this is, but she knows that it is the color that she wants.
Yeah.
She might not tell you it's red, but she knows she will pick out the red one that she's looking for, among her toys. So don't treat them like they don't have a brain, or like they don't understand. They do. They understand. And if you're being mean to them, they also know to stay away from you. No one wants to be in a place where they are not accepted or not wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you say to a parent who has just discovered that their child is autistic? Brenda of 2012, 2013. What would you say to them?
The first thing I'll tell you is to breathe. Breathe. I remember crying and like I can't breathe.
That type of hyperventilating, crying.
Mama, breathe. It's okay. I don't even want to tell you it's not the end of the world, but just breathe. Take a deep breath. You have it within you to take care of this child. Many times I doubted my ability to look after this child. I used to wonder what 12 years will be like. I used to wonder whether I could do this. I used to wonder if I was cut out for being her mother. But let me tell you, you're the best mother that child could ever get. So breathe, you can do this. I know right now it seems like I can't do this. Maybe, it's hard.
Yeah.
And it really is hard. But I know that you have it within you to take care of this child. And you're the best person for this job. I also know that right now it feels like you're helpless, but I know that within you is a strength, actually a divine strength.
Yeah.
A divine strength. to walk this journey. You just have to reach within you and
dig it out.
Dig it out, yes, because you do have it.
Yeah.
I know that everyone around you has questions, and so do you, but you don't owe anyone an explanation if you don't have the answers. I also encourage you to find a community.
Yeah.
Find a community, find someone you can talk to. I encourage you to cry. I'm not going to stop you from crying. Please cry. Cry. Because you can't help it, I know. I know you can't help it. So cry it out.
Yeah.
And then when you're done, find a community. Find someone to talk to. Find a counselor. Find a therapist. Find a spiritual leader to help you. And please don't find that spiritual leader who is telling you your child is bewitched. I must say, please don't let anyone tell you they have a cure. Please don't let anyone tell you that God is punishing you. Don't let anyone tell you that that they have a certain something that will reverse autism.
The time you mentioned you bought a spray.
So again, we are sharing, so you do not
make the same
mistakes. A lot of money and time was spent and wasted, finding little remedies when in reality they were just remedies. They were just to temporarily conceal certain symptoms, but they were not cures. I know people are going to tell you that marijuana is a cure. No, it just minimizes hyperactivity. That's it. It's not a cure. I know there's a pastor telling you someone did something to you, and no. No one did anything to you. And most definitely, you are not the cause. You're not the one who brought this on yourself. So breathe, cry, speak to someone, but it must be someone who is going to support you on this journey, not someone who is going to break you that more. That's why I'm emphasizing stay away from those pastors that are telling you that there is something wrong with your child, that they are possessed, that you were bewitched, or the child was bewitched, or that God is punishing you. No, God loves you. And because he loves you, he's going to walk this journey with you. He will make it easy for you along the way. You just have to trust that that God, you have to see that child like as a blessing, not even like they are a gift, they're a blessing. So, and that's how you find the strength within you. I'm not here today because I'm a very strong woman. No, I'm not. I have moments where I occasionally I'm shaken, occasionally I'm worried about the future, but I'm also quickly reminded of how good God is. And because his nature is good, he's going to walk this journey with me. And so far he has. We've come so far. We've come so far. For me to be able to talk about autism without crying like a fool. I have found strength, but let me tell you, it's not a certain strength that I've worked on my own. I have allowed God to show me this strength. So I know what you're going through, and find a community, talk to people. There's so many communities in Kampala, by the way. On different platforms, on social media, on WhatsApp.
Can mention Kwanza?
Yes, Kwanza Autism is a very, very, very good resource. That's Kwanza Autism by Joanna and Carol. Joanna is a mother to a child with autism. The other WhatsApp groups, and I've learned a lot from just surrounding myself with people who understand the journey that I am on. So it is well. It is well.
And I hope after watching this video, you will now know how to how to be accepting of families that have children with autism, that you will not be that person that is laughing when you discover that someone has had their child
a child with a
diagnosed,
disability.
with whatever disability, be it autism or whatever, that you'll be accepting, ready to learn, and just embrace them, because it's not easy. They're also on a journey where they're learning, and include them.
Please, let me even add my voice to that one.
Yeah.
Please don't be the reason.
You don't invite them to birthday parties.
You don't invite these. Don't be
the invitation. If they don't come, that's fine.
And there are times, by the way, I legitimately cannot come. My child might be going through a season of hyperactivity, and therefore they are not able to be in a certain place, public place or space. It could be a season. It could be a venue you picked, by the way, that doesn't favor my child. Yeah. There are those venues people will pick, and honestly, they don't favor the child because of all the sensory issues that they have. It could be because it's a crowded place, very loud. Maybe the lighting. I didn't mention that most children with autism struggle with sensory processing. So sometimes it could be a place with a lot of light, those flashing lights, or even just there was a time I couldn't go to the supermarket with Zizi because the music is playing, the lights are so bright, and so she would break out into, a meltdown, and then people in the supermarket are like
looking at you like, handle your child.
So sometimes it's because it's the venue that you picked that doesn't favor my child. Sometimes me, the mother, I am not ready. I am also going through it, a season, It's not about the child only. The other advice, please take care of yourself. We tend to let ourselves go because of the pain that we are going through. I remember years. Sometimes I look at my pictures of years ago. Like, what is this hair?
Yeah.
What is this? What was she doing? What was I doing? So take care of yourself. It's very important to take care of yourself, not just mentally, but don't lose yourself. Don't lose yourself. Feel good about yourself. Once you have come out, of course, I do understand you can be in that hole, but once you come out of it, love on yourself, because this child needs you. And we need you to be well, to be able to take care of the child.
Yeah.
Acceptance, love and acceptance. Just love and acceptance. When you know that you have friends and family that have children with a disability, please be kind. Please be understanding. Be supportive. Instead of unsolicited advice, maybe ask, how can I support you?
Yeah.
How would you like me to be there for you? I think that's mostly is it. And mostly to call on fathers. Most of the times we think raising a child with a disability is for the mother.
Issue.
Fathers, please get this message to fathers. Raising a child with a disability is not just a mother's job. There's so many stories and so many cases where the fathers have taken a back seat. I do understand it's because the mothers are more actively involved, but let's all just educate ourselves. And be kind and loving.
Wow. Thank you, Brenda, for sharing your story.
Thank you, Daisy, for giving me a chance
giving people hope. Like the Brenda who discovered and the Brenda of now 12-year-old Zizi is very different. You advocate for her, and that's very powerful. I've learned so much about autism from you, actually. Yeah.
I'm glad.
So, thank you for sharing your story. I hope that this encourages a parent out there who has just discovered or is walking that journey. And I also hope that it empowers us who want to support and you don't know what to do. Like, okay, my friend's child has autism. What do I say to them? I hope that this empowers you, and just share it. Share it on your stories. Share it wherever you don't know who will need it, so that we can create an environment that is inclusive for us parents, but also for the children that we are raising.
Yes.
Yeah. We shall see you next week. Remember, I am rooting for you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.